Today, we're diving into a story that will truly tug at your heartstrings. It's one of those stories that remind us of the power of kindness and how a single act of compassion can change someone's life. In a world where we often rush through our busy lives, this incredible moment of unexpected generosity will leave you speechless. So sit back, relax, and let me tell you about a moment that no one could have predicted. Picture this: a busy restaurant filled with chatter, laughter, and the sound of plates clinking. The smell of delicious food fills the air, and the waitstaff is hustling around, making sure everyone has what they need. In the midst of all this activity, there's one waitress who's running from table to table, doing her best to keep up with the steady stream of customers. She's focused, determined, and in the middle of a typical chaotic day at work. Little does she know, something unexpected is about to happen that will completely change the course of her day. Just as the waitress is rushing from one table to the next, a figure enters the restaurant. It's a woman, her clothes worn and weathered, her face tired and pale. She looks out of place in the middle of this bustling restaurant, hesitant as she steps inside. Her eyes scan the room, as if unsure whether she belongs here. Her clothes are torn, her shoes scuffed and dirty, and it's clear that life has not been kind to her. She doesn't ask for anything extravagant, just a simple meal. The moment she steps forward, all eyes in the room are momentarily drawn to her, but she doesn't seem to notice. She's here for something very specific, and she's about to ask for help in the most unexpected way. The woman takes a deep breath and slowly walks up to the waitress, who's still running around. She stands there for a moment, almost uncertain if she should speak up. Finally, with a soft voice, she says, "Excuse me, would it be possible for me to have just a meal? I don't have much, but I'm really hungry." The waitress, who's been rushing around all day, pauses for a moment. She looks at the woman, the weariness in her eyes, and then glances at the busy restaurant around her. There's a slight hesitation, but the simplicity of the request tugs at her heart. It's a moment that will force her to make a decision that she never thought she'd have to face. The waitress stands there for a moment, her mind racing. She hadn't expected this kind of request today. Her shift had been nonstop, and she was already feeling exhausted. But something about the woman's quiet voice and the simple, honest plea touches her deeply. She looks into the woman's eyes, sees the hunger and uncertainty, and for a brief second, the world around them seems to fade away. The waitress can feel her heart soften. She could easily turn away, brush it off, and keep going with her shift. But something inside her tells her that this is a moment she can't ignore. With a slight sigh, she nods, her decision made. "Of course, let me see what I can do for you," she says, already planning what she can offer. As the waitress heads to the kitchen to prepare a meal, the woman quietly takes a seat at one of the tables, her hands clasped together, almost as if she's waiting for something much more than just a meal. The restaurant hums with its usual activity, but the tension in the air is palpable. Just as the waitress is about to return with a plate of food, something completely unexpected happens. The owner of the restaurant, who has been quietly observing from a distance, walks up to the woman with a smile. "I overheard your conversation," he says gently. "I want you to know that we'll be taking care of your meal, but also we can do something more." The woman looks up, stunned, unsure if she heard him right. What happens next is something no one in the room could have predicted. The owner smiles warmly and gestures for the woman to follow him. "We'd like to offer you a place to stay for a while, and if you're interested, we have some work available here as well." The woman's eyes widen, and for a moment she's speechless. She had come in asking for nothing more than a simple meal, but instead she's being offered something far greater, an opportunity, a chance to rebuild. The waitress, who had quietly witnessed this entire exchange, can't help but feel a rush of emotion. What started as a small act of kindness has now transformed into something life-changing. The woman, overwhelmed by the generosity, nods slowly, tears welling up in her eyes. I, I don't know what to say. "Thank you." The room, which had been buzzing with chatter just moments ago, now seems still, as everyone around her feels the power of this unexpected moment of grace. As the woman sits there, absorbing the kindness that has just been offered to her, the reality of the situation slowly sinks in. She came into the restaurant with nothing more than a quiet request for a meal, but what she left with was far more than she could have ever expected. A simple meal turned into a moment that would change her life. The generosity she experienced wasn't just about food or shelter, it was about dignity, respect, and the chance to rebuild from a place of warmth and support. For the waitress, this moment would stay with her forever. It was easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of daily life. It was easy to brush off requests like the one the woman had made. But this time she had taken a moment to stop, listen, and respond with kindness. What started as a small act, offering a meal, had grown into a ripple effect of compassion. The decision to help the woman didn't just change her life, it also reminded the waitress of the power she held in her hands to make a difference. It was a small gesture, but one that could have lasting effects. As the waitress continued with her shift, she felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that sometimes the simplest actions can have the biggest impact. For the owner of the restaurant, the experience was a powerful reminder of the importance of community. In a world where so many people are overlooked or forgotten, he had made the decision to see the woman as more than just a beggar. He saw her as a person who needed not only food but also a second chance, a chance to work, to heal, and to rebuild her life. The restaurant wasn't just a business to him, it was a place of connection, of shared humanity. And in this instance, he knew that the true measure of success wasn't in the profits, but in the lives touched and the opportunities provided to those who needed them most. As the woman left the restaurant that evening, she looked up at the sky, a sense of hope filling her heart for the first time in a long while. She hadn't expected this. She hadn't expected a simple meal to turn into a chance for a fresh start, a chance to move away from the streets and begin something new. She had spent so many nights wondering if things would ever change, and now, as she stood there, she realized that sometimes change comes from the most unexpected places. The kindness of strangers had given her a lifeline, one she hadn't even known she was searching for. This story serves as a reminder of the power of empathy, of kindness, and of the impact we can have on others when we choose to see people for who they truly are, not just for their circumstances. We often rush through our daily lives, focused on our own problems, our own challenges. But sometimes taking a moment to stop and acknowledge the struggles of others can make all the difference. The waitress didn't know that by offering a meal. She was offering so much more. And the restaurant owner didn't know that by opening his heart. He was opening the door to a new beginning for someone who had felt invisible for so long. In a world that often feels divided, stories like this remind us of the importance of compassion. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the problems we face, especially when it seems like there is so much suffering around us. But we must remember that every act of kindness, no matter how small, has the potential to change the course of someone's life. It doesn't take a grand gesture or a lot of money. Sometimes it just takes a moment of time, a listening ear, or a warm meal. As for the homeless woman, her life didn't change overnight. But this one moment, this one act of kindness, became the spark she needed to move forward. She took that first step toward a new life, a life filled with hope, possibility, and the belief that people still cared. She would always remember the waitress, the restaurant owner, and that simple moment of humanity that had brought her back from the brink. So, the next time you see someone in need, don't look away. Don't assume that their story is not worth your time. You never know how your actions could change someone's life. A kind word, a small gesture, a simple meal, these things matter. In the end, it's the kindness we give that truly defines us, and the world could always use more of it. Let's not wait for someone else to make a difference. Let's be the change, one small act of kindness at a time.